Bulgaria emerged from World War II in a unique position among European nations, having fought on the Axis side until September 1944, before switching to the Allies and contributing forces to the final defeat of Nazi Germany. This transition fundamentally shaped Bulgaria's post-war trajectory as the country fell firmly within the Soviet sphere of influence, came under communist rule, and became one of the most loyal members of the Warsaw Pact. The story of Bulgarian infantry weapons in the post-World War II era is essentially the story of Soviet military assistance transforming Bulgarian forces from operating a diverse collection of German, Italian, and captured Allied weapons into a force equipped entirely with Soviet designs, creating infantry armed with successive generations of Soviet small arms, while also developing Bulgaria's own indigenous arms production capabilities. Unlike some Warsaw Pact nations that simply imported Soviet weapons without modification, Bulgaria developed substantial domestic arms manufacturing, producing licensed versions of Soviet designs, and eventually creating indigenous variants that were exported worldwide. The Bulgarian defense industry, particularly the arsenal plant in Kazanlak, became one of the Warsaw Pact's major small arms manufacturers, producing millions of rifles, machine guns, and other weapons for Bulgarian forces and export customers. Throughout the Cold War, Bulgarian infantry forces maintained equipment and doctrine that mirrored Soviet practice, with organization, tactics, and weapons reflecting the close relationship between Sofia and Moscow. Bulgaria's strategic position in the Balkans, bordering NATO members Greece and Turkey, while also neighboring Yugoslavia after its 1948 split with the Soviet Union, made Bulgarian military capabilities important to Warsaw Pact defense planning and ensured continued Soviet support for Bulgarian armed forces modernization. This comprehensive examination explores every major category of infantry weapon that served in Bulgarian forces from 1945 through the end of the Cold War and into the post-communist era, revealing how Soviet assistance equipped Bulgarian infantry, how Bulgaria developed indigenous production capabilities that made it a major arms exporter, and how Bulgarian infantry weapons evolved from captured World War II equipment to modern assault rifles and machine guns, while navigating the transition from communism to democracy and eventual NATO membership. Rifles. Immediate post-war period. Mosin-Nagant M189 1/30 and variants. When Bulgaria switched sides in September 1944 and began fighting alongside the Red Army against Germany, Soviet forces immediately began supplying Bulgarian units with Soviet weapons to replace the German and Italian equipment previously used. The Mosin-Nagant M189 1/30 bolt-action rifle became the standard Bulgarian infantry rifle in the immediate post-war period, provided in large quantities through Soviet military assistance. The Mosin-Nagant, chambered in 7.62 by 54 mm R, had served as the Soviet Union's standard infantry rifle since the 1890s through World War II, and remained in production even as semi-automatic rifles were introduced. The rifle featured a 5-round internal box magazine loaded via stripper clips, robust turn-bolt action, and simple construction that tolerated abuse in harsh conditions. Bulgarian soldiers who had carried German Mauser rifles during the Axis period now trained on Mosin-Nagants, learning Soviet manual of arms and maintenance procedures under Red Army supervision. The rifle's overall length of approximately 1,230 millimeters and weight of about 4 kilograms made it similar in dimensions to other full-length military rifles. The tangent rear sight, adjustable to 2,000 meters, and simple post-front sight provided adequate accuracy for infantry combat ranges. Soviet advisors trained Bulgarian soldiers in marksmanship, maintenance, and small unit tactics aligned with Soviet doctrine, creating an infantry force that operated according to Soviet standards. Bulgarian Mosin-Nagant rifles saw service through the late 1940s and into the 1950s, equipping the Bulgarian People's Army as it was reorganized along Soviet lines. The rifles participated in training, exercises, and preparations for potential conflict during the early Cold War. As more modern Soviet rifles became available, Mosin-Nagants gradually transitioned to reserve units, training roles, and storage. By the late 1950s and early 1960s, most had been withdrawn from frontline service, though some remained in reserve stocks for decades. Bulgarian forces also operated Mosin-Nagant carbine variants including the M1944 with integrated folding bayonet issued to cavalry, artillery, and support troops requiring a more compact weapon than the full-length rifle. Rifles. The SKS era, SKS semi-automatic carbine. The SKS semi-automatic carbine, designated Samozariadny Karabin Systemy Simonova, entered Bulgarian service in the 1950s as the Soviet Union supplied these modern self-loading rifles to Warsaw Pact allies. The SKS represented Soviet infantry modernization, providing a semi-automatic weapon chambered in the new intermediate 7.62 by 39mm M43 cartridge that would become the standard Soviet rifle round. Bulgaria received substantial numbers of Soviet-manufactured SKS carbines starting in the mid-1950s, equipping Bulgarian infantry with modern self-loading rifles that significantly improved firepower compared to bolt-action Mosin-Nagants. The SKS weighed approximately 3.9 kilograms, with overall length of 1,020 millimeters, including the permanently attached folding bayonet. The gas-operated action allowed soldiers to fire as quickly as they could pull the trigger, theoretically doubling or tripling practical rate of fire compared to bolt actions. The 10-round fixed magazine loaded via stripper clips provided adequate capacity, though the fixed magazine meant reloading was slower than detachable magazine designs. Bulgarian soldiers trained extensively on the SKS, learning to employ the semi-automatic firepower while maintaining accuracy and ammunition discipline. The 7.62 by 39mm intermediate cartridge offered better controllability than full-power rifle rounds while maintaining adequate range and power for infantry combat. SKS carbines equipped Bulgarian infantry through the late 1950s and into the 1960s, providing a significant capability increase over earlier rifles. The weapon's reliability, simple operation, and adequate performance made it effective for Bulgarian operational requirements. However, the SKS's service as Bulgaria's primary infantry weapon was relatively brief, as the superior AK-47 assault rifle became available and eventually replaced the SKS in frontline units. After being replaced by AK-47s, Bulgarian SKS carbines transitioned to reserve units, second-line forces, and training roles. Many remained in Bulgarian inventories through the 1970s and 1980s in storage. Bulgaria also established licensed production of the SKS, manufacturing carbines at Bulgarian arsenals for domestic use and export. Bulgarian-produced SKS rifles were exported to various nations and insurgent groups aligned with Soviet interests, providing combat experience data. Rifles, the Kalashnikov era, a K-47 and AKM assault rifle. The AK-47 assault rifle, Avtomat Kalashnikova model 1947, revolutionized infantry firepower and became Bulgaria's standard infantry weapon from the early 1960s onward. The Soviet Union supplied Bulgaria with AK-47 rifles starting in the late 1950s, providing Bulgarian forces with the weapon that would become history's most widely produced firearm. The AK-47's selective fire capability, allowing both semi-automatic precision fire and fully automatic suppressive fire, combined with the 7.62 by 39mm intermediate cartridge and proven reliability, created a weapon ideally suited to equipping mass armies. Bulgaria received initial shipments of Soviet-manufactured AK-47s and subsequently established licensed production, manufacturing the rifles domestically at arsenal plant in Kazanlak and other facilities. Bulgarian production allowed modifications and improvements reflecting Bulgarian requirements while maintaining basic Soviet design. The AK-47 weighed approximately 4.3 kilograms loaded with a 30-round magazine. The gas-operated action with rotating bolt proved remarkably reliable under all conditions, functioning despite dirt, mud, sand, and neglect that would disable more sophisticated rifles. The rate of fire of approximately 600 rounds per minute in automatic mode provided devastating close-range firepower. Bulgarian AK-47 production utilized both milled receiver construction in early models and stamped receiver construction in later AKM, Avtomat Kalashnikova Modernizirovanny variants. The AKM's stamped receiver reduced production costs and weight while maintaining the AK-47's legendary reliability. Bulgarian-produced AKM rifles, often designated ARM-1 in Bulgarian nomenclature, equipped all Bulgarian infantry from the 1960s through the 1990s. Literally millions were produced for Bulgarian forces in export, making Bulgaria one of the world's major AK manufacturers. Bulgarian AK rifles saw extensive use in training, exercises, and maintaining readiness throughout the Cold War. While Bulgarian forces fortunately avoided major combat, Bulgarian-produced AKs saw extensive combat worldwide in the hands of Soviet allies, insurgent groups, and various military forces, establishing reputations for reliability and effectiveness. Bulgarian AK production incorporated various improvements over the decades, including improved furniture and stocks, better sights and finish, quality control enhancements, and adaptation for export customer requirements. The Arsenal plant became renowned for producing high-quality AK rifles that were often considered superior to some other producers' output. After the Cold War ended and Bulgaria transitioned to democracy, AK rifles remained the standard Bulgarian infantry weapon through the 1990s and early 2000s. Even after NATO membership in 2004 and introduction of Western weapons, many Bulgarian units continued operating AKs due to the enormous existing stocks and economic constraints preventing wholesale replacement. Even today, modernized AK variants remain in Bulgarian service alongside Western rifles. AK-74 assault rifle. Bulgaria received limited numbers of Soviet AK-74 assault rifles chambered in 5.45 by 39 millimeters, the new Soviet small-caliber cartridge introduced in the 1970s. However, large-scale Bulgarian adoption of the AK-74 never occurred, as Bulgaria continued producing 7.62 by 39 millimeter AKM variants through the Cold War's end. Some AK-74 rifles served with Bulgarian special forces and elite units, providing experience with the smaller caliber. After the Cold War, Bulgaria produced 5.56 by 45 millimeters NATO-chambered AK variants for export, rather than adopting 5.45 by 39 millimeters domestically. Rifles, modern era, AR-M1 and variants. The AR-M1 series represents Bulgarian-produced AKM variants with various improvements and modernizations. These rifles, manufactured at Arsenal, feature improved ergonomics, accessory rails for optics and lights, better furniture, and quality enhancements while maintaining AK reliability. Various AR-M1 subvariants serve Bulgarian forces and have been exported worldwide. The AR-M1F features a side-folding stock, while other variants incorporate different furniture, rail systems, and modifications for specific requirements. Arsenal AR-M4 and AR-M9. Arsenal developed AR-M4 and AR-M9 rifles as modernized 5.56 by 45 millimeters, NATO-chambered AK variants reflecting Bulgaria's NATO membership and the need for ammunition commonality with alliance partners. These weapons maintain the AK action and ergonomics while chambering the NATO standard cartridge. AR-M4 and AR-M9 variants feature accessory rails, improved furniture, and various enhancements, making them competitive with Western rifles while retaining AK reliability. These rifles have seen limited adoption in Bulgarian special forces and some regular units while being marketed for export. Pistols and sidearms. Tokarev TT-33 pistol. The Soviet Tokarev TT-33 semi-automatic pistol became Bulgaria's standard sidearm in the post-war period, provided through Soviet military assistance. The Tokarev, chambered in 7.62 by 25 millimeters. Tokarev featured an 8-round single-stack magazine and simple, robust construction derived from the Browning design. Bulgarian officers, NCOs, and specialized personnel carried TT-33 pistols through the 1950s, 1960s, and beyond. Bulgaria also established licensed production of the Tokarev at Bulgarian arsenals, manufacturing pistols for domestic use and export. Bulgarian-produced Tokarev pistols served through the Cold War, with some remaining in service into the 1990s. Makarov PM pistol. The Makarov PM, Pistolet Makarova, became the standard Soviet and Warsaw Pact sidearm starting in the 1950s, and Bulgaria adopted it as well. Chambered in 9 by 18 millimeters Makarov, this blowback-operated pistol featured an 8-round magazine and compact, reliable design. Bulgaria received Soviet-manufactured Makarov pistols and established licensed production, manufacturing the pistols domestically. Bulgarian Makarovs equipped officers, vehicle crews, and others requiring sidearms from the 1960s through the Cold War's end and beyond. The Makarov remained Bulgaria's standard sidearm through the 1990s and early 2000s, with many continuing in service even after NATO membership as economic constraints prevented wholesale replacement. Submachine guns. PPSH-41 submachine gun. Soviet military assistance provided Bulgaria with PPSH-41 submachine guns, the famous Soviet weapon chambered in 7.62 by 25 millimeters Tokarev. The PPSH-41's distinctive 71-round drum magazine, or 35-round stick magazine, high rate of fire of approximately 900 rounds per minute, and robust construction made it effective for close-range combat. Bulgarian forces used PPSH-41 submachine guns from the late 1940s through the 1950s, equipping assault troops, vehicle crews, and specialized personnel. As more modern weapons became available, PPSH-41s transitioned to reserve units before eventual retirement. PPS-43 submachine gun. The PPS-43 submachine gun, a simplified Soviet design developed during World War II, also served in Bulgarian forces. Chambered in 7.62 by 25 millimeters, Tokarev, like the PPSH-41, the PPS-43 featured all stamped construction, folding stock, and 35-round curved magazine. The weapon's compact size and simplicity made it suitable for vehicle crews and specialized roles. Bulgarian PPS-43s served through the 1950s and possibly into the 1960s, before being replaced by more modern weapons. Skorpion versus 61. Bulgaria acquired Czechoslovak Skorpion 61 submachine guns, compact weapons chambered in .32 ACP. The Skorpion's very small size, wire stock, and selective fire capability made it suitable for covert operations, vehicle crews, and other specialized missions. Bulgarian security forces and special operations units used Skorpions from the 1970s onward, with some remaining in service today. Machine guns light. DP-28 light machine gun. Soviet military assistance provided Bulgaria with DP-28 Degtyaryov Pikhotny light machine guns in the immediate post-war period. Chambered in 7.62 by 54 millimeters R, the DP-28 featured a distinctive flat-pan magazine holding 47 rounds mounted on top of the receiver. The gas-operated action and rate of fire of approximately 500 to 600 rounds per minute provided squad-level automatic fire. Bulgarian infantry squads used DP-28s from the late 1940s through the 1950s, providing mobile firepower supporting infantry operations. As more modern light machine guns became available, DP-28s gradually transitioned to training and reserve roles before retirement. RPD light machine gun. The RPD light machine gun, Ruchnoy Pulemyot Degtyaryova, entered Bulgarian service in the 1950s as the Soviet Union supplied these modern 7.62 by 39 millimeter belt-fed squad automatic weapons. The RPD's 100-round non-disintegrating belt, housed in a drum container, attached under the receiver, provided sustained fire capability. The rate of fire of approximately 650 to 750 rounds per minute and reliable gas operation made the RPD effective. Bulgarian RPDs equipped infantry squads through the 1950s, 1960s, and into the 1970s, providing automatic fire support. Bulgaria established licensed production of the RPD, manufacturing the weapon for domestic use and export. After being replaced by the RPK in most units, RPDs continued in second-line service and reserves. RPK light machine gun. The RPK light machine gun, Ruchnoy Pulemyot Kalashnikova, became Bulgaria's standard squad automatic weapon from the 1960s onward. Based on the AK action but featuring a longer, heavier barrel, bipod, and 40-round magazine or 75-round drum, the RPK provided sustained automatic fire while maintaining commonality with the AK rifle. Bulgaria received Soviet-manufactured RPKs and established licensed production, manufacturing the weapon domestically in large quantities. Bulgarian-produced RPK light machine guns equipped every Bulgarian infantry squad from the 1960s through the Cold War's end and continue in service today. The weapon's reliability, ammunition commonality with AK rifles, and adequate performance made it ideal for Bulgarian requirements. Bulgarian RPK production included standard RPK and RPKS folding stock variants. Millions were produced for Bulgarian forces in export. Machine guns medium and heavy, SG-43 and SGM medium machine gun. Soviet military assistance provided Bulgaria with SG-43 Goryunov medium machine guns, 7.62 by 54 millimeters, are belt-fed weapons that equip Bulgarian infantry battalions. The gas-operated air-cooled design featured a quick-change barrel system and fired from 250-round belts. The rate of fire of approximately 600 to 700 rounds per minute provided sustained fire capability. The improved SGM variant featured various enhancements. Bulgarian SG-43 and SGM machine guns equipped heavy weapons companies and battalions through the 1950s and 1960s, providing sustained fire support. Bulgaria established licensed production, manufacturing these weapons domestically. PK and PKM general-purpose machine gun. The PK general-purpose machine gun, Pulemyot Kalashnikova, and its modernized PKM variant became Bulgaria's standard medium machine gun from the 1960s onward. Chambered in 7.62 by 54 millimeters R, the PK/PKM featured lightweight construction, belt-fed operation, quick-change barrel, and could serve both as a squad automatic weapon on bipod and a sustained fire medium machine gun on tripod. The rate of fire of approximately 650 to 750 rounds per minute provided excellent firepower. Bulgaria received Soviet-manufactured PK/PKM machine guns and established licensed production at Bulgarian arsenals. Bulgarian-produced PKM machine guns equipped infantry battalions and mechanized units from the 1960s through the Cold War and continue in service today. The weapon's reliability, relatively lightweight, and versatility made it one of the most successful general-purpose machine guns ever designed. Bulgarian PKM production included vast quantities for domestic use and export, with Bulgarian PKMs serving worldwide in various conflicts. Anti-tank weapons, PTRD and PTRS anti-tank rifles. Soviet military assistance provided Bulgaria with PTRD and PTRS anti-tank rifles in the immediate post-war period. These 14.5 by 114 millimeter weapons could penetrate approximately 35 to 40 millimeters of armor at 100 meters, adequate against light armor in vehicles. Bulgarian anti-tank rifle teams used these weapons through the late 1940s and early 1950s before being replaced by more effective anti-tank weapons. RPG-2 anti-tank grenade launcher. The RPG-2 shoulder-fired anti-tank grenade launcher provided Bulgarian infantry with effective anti-armor capability starting in the 1950s. The simple launcher fired an 80mm rocket with shape-charge warhead that could penetrate approximately 180 millimeters of armor. Bulgarian RPG-2s equipped infantry anti-tank teams through the 1950s and 1960s, providing capability against contemporary tanks and fortifications. RPG-7 anti-tank grenade launcher. The RPG-7 became one of history's most widely used weapons and Bulgaria's standard infantry anti-tank weapon from the 1960s onward. The reusable launcher fired various 40mm and later 105mm rockets with shape charge or thermobaric warheads. The PG-7V rocket could penetrate over 300 millimeters of armor, making it effective against most tanks. Bulgaria received Soviet-manufactured RPG-7s and established licensed production, manufacturing launchers and ammunition domestically in enormous quantities. Bulgarian-produced RPG-7s equipped every Bulgarian infantry unit from the 1960s through the Cold War and continue in service today. Millions of RPG-7s launchers and rockets were produced for Bulgarian forces and export, making Bulgaria a major RPG producer. Bulgarian RPG-7 production included various rocket types including anti-tank, anti-personnel, and thermobaric variants. Bulgarian infantry weapons in the post-World War II era tell the story of a nation firmly within the Soviet sphere of influence, developing armed forces that entirely reflected Soviet equipment, doctrine, and organization, while also becoming a major arms producer that supplied weapons worldwide. From the Mosin-Nagant rifles that equipped post-war Bulgarian forces to the AK pattern rifles that remain in service today, Bulgarian infantry arms evolved through successive generations of Soviet designs, while Bulgaria's arsenal plant became one of the world's major small arms manufacturers. The immediate post-war period saw Bulgaria transitioning from wartime German and Italian equipment to standardized Soviet weapons. Mosin-Nagant rifles provided the foundation while Soviet advisors trained Bulgarian personnel in Soviet methods, creating an infantry force that mirrored its larger ally. The 1950s and 1960s brought modernization with SKS carbines and AK-47 assault rifles, transforming Bulgarian firepower and establishing licensed production that would make Bulgaria a major arms exporter. The AK's long service and massive Bulgarian production, totaling millions of rifles, made it the most characteristic Bulgarian infantry weapon. Throughout the Cold War, Bulgarian infantry weapons served primarily as deterrents, participating in Warsaw Pact exercises, while fortunately avoiding major combat. Bulgarian-produced weapons saw extensive combat worldwide in the hands of Soviet allies and clients, establishing Bulgaria's arms industry reputation. The end of the Cold War and Bulgaria's transition to democracy in 1989 to 1990 created challenges for Bulgaria's arms industry and military. The collapse of Soviet-era export markets devastated production, while economic constraints prevented military modernization. Bulgaria's NATO membership since 2004 created pressure to adopt Western weapons for interoperability, but economic realities meant continued reliance on Soviet-era designs. Bulgarian AK rifles remain the standard today, supplemented by limited Western acquisitions. Today, Bulgarian infantry operate primarily modernized AK variants alongside PKM machine guns, RPG-7s, and other Soviet-designed weapons, though some units have received Western equipment. The future likely involves gradual introduction of Western weapons while maintaining large stocks of Soviet-era arms. When we remember Bulgarian infantry weapons after World War II, we should remember the transformation from receiving Soviet aid to becoming a major producer. The millions of AK rifles manufactured at Arsenal Kazanlak that armed forces worldwide, and the current generation navigating between Soviet legacy equipment and Western standards as a NATO member. The weapons they carried and produced, from Soviet rifles to Bulgarian AKs to modern Western arms, represent Bulgaria's journey from loyal Warsaw Pact member to NATO ally while maintaining one of the world's significant small arms industries.